And we are live. So, welcome to episode 179 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house today, this morning, this afternoon, depending on where you are, I've got Marty from the Trash Picture Show. Thank you for coming back to talk some Primal. Appreciate it, and good to see you again, man.
No, it's awesome, and this is a show that needs to be talked about. There isn't next to near enough people talk about this fucking show. This season is very interesting because, as I said before, if the first season, the Primal is very pulp. It's pulp adventure at its roots. So if the first season is Edgar Rice Burroughs, this season is definitely Robert E. Howard. We're going away from kind of the primitive dinosaur-infested jungles and landscape to a very kind of Hyborian age kind of landscape and setting. And it's cool because any other show, people would be like, oh, where's the fucking dinosaurs? But this mixes it up. This makes it a bit more interesting, and that's why I was very excited for season 2.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been easy enough to just have another season of, Spear and Fang. And again, we're talking about season 2 of Primal, which is streaming right now in America on Max. Where can they get it there in your neck of the woods, brother?
It's available for free on More4 if you've the app on your Xbox or your TV or your phone. You can watch it there on More4. So it's pretty cool. Both seasons are up.
Yeah, both seasons are up. These are 10-episode seasons at about 20 minutes, give or take some change per episode. It would have been very easy to just do a rehash of them sort of in the Savage Lands or in this sort of Jurassic Park type setting, fighting other dinosaurs, these sort of simian societies that we've encountered a few times, which were rough. They were rough episodes. Here we get to more humanoid societies or civilizations that are, with few exceptions, extremely brutal. We get to encounter a lot of slave-based societies and great deals of cruelty, murder, just pulling up to people's shores and killing them, enslaving entire populations, so on and so forth. To me, it was a rougher episode, a rougher season than the first season. Is that what you thought?
Yeah, particularly episode 4, because it done something very interesting with Spear and Fang, and I think as a result of episode 4, it as a necessity, we got episode 5, which was the Primal Theory, which takes us totally out of left field, where you have Charles Darwin, kind of.
Yes,
it's 1800s London, and
yes.
Charles Darwin is talking to some aristocratic kind of snobs, and he's saying, look, in any situation, we can be savage, we can be violent. And I think that episode was necessary. I'm not going to go too much into plot details, but the prior episode has Spear and Fang enter a village of aggressors. And not only do they have to kill and fight the men. Hey, Mike's in the chat. Mike Tarm, fantastic stop motion creator, is in the chat. But
hey, man.
As I was saying, they enter a village and of aggressors, kind of Norse aggressors. But not only does Spear and Fang have to kill the kind of male tribes members, they also have to fight the female and children tribe members of that. And I think that Tartakovsky was like, okay, I'm not 100% sure how people will take this, so I'm going to galvanize myself with the following episode. That's what I took from that. That's why I felt he made that episode to kind of reassure the audience. Look, Spear and Fang done these horrible things, but it was all in the name of survival. That's my theory on it.
Yeah, you start to encounter, not just these male antagonists or villains, you start to encounter entire warrior-based societies that are trying to kill you, women that are openly trying to kill you, children that are openly trying to kill you. I'm not exactly like there's a duality to it, because you're cheering for Spear and Fang, but at the same time, you feel a little bad when you see some of these kids get splattered, which happens out of pure necessity. That even Spear has to pause, when he realizes, what he has to do before he does it. And yeah, I mean, it's great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. We start off with the first episode, The Sea of Despair, which has Spear and Fang chasing after Mira, the Mira character. What did you think of that episode? I mean,
that was a fucking visual delight, and the way I kind of compartmentalized that episode in my head was, so you have a caveman and a dinosaur going out to sea. It's the equivalent of us going out into space. It's just they're on this raft, they're hearing whale noises, they're encountering all these weird fucking underwater submariner creatures, and like they're like, what the fuck? I think we might have made a mistake. There's a couple of moments where you get the feeling that Spear is like, okay, I really should have thought this through.
Yeah, there's no food, there's no water. They end up having to basically sustain themselves off the blood of the kills that they managed to acquire during the course of the journey. Huge storms. Finally, they start to run into what I guess you would assume is some sort of megalodon or shark type creature. The heat that just is taking over for them. Their role is very much minimized, whereas they're kind of the top of the food chain when it comes on land, because we've seen they win and they win and they win. In the first season they barely take a hit compared to season 2, but right away on the sea, they're
their survival chances drop to that, and it's a savage episode, but it's also a beautiful episode as well.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic stuff. Fantastic storytelling. Where else do we get? I'm trying to move back through some of these episodes, and they're just. What else do we get? Sea of Despair. What was the? I'm trying to find season 2. I seem to have lost the video. The Shadow of Fate episode, which I thought, again, was another fucking good one, where they finally set on land, and then they seem to. There's a moment there where you realize it's not going to happen, but you almost think that they're going to settle into their own settings. He meets the sort of. They're rough, but they're a civilized sort of Viking society or Norseman society. Fang meets another dinosaur. For about 20 minutes, you get some high living going on there.
If you are actually, if you pay enough attention, so right, I've kind of theorized this, because where they land seems to be kind of the early British Isles, because that tribe is speaking Irish. They're speaking Gaelic. So my guess is crossed the ocean, landed in Britannia, either Ireland or Scotland or wherever, then traveled down the African coast, hence the Egyptian queen. So if you're anyway a bit kind of knacky with kind of ancient history and stuff, you can kind of plot their direction. So yeah, but you are dead right. It sucks because Spear kind of finally finds another kind of sapient race that's more like him, and Fan finds a kind of compatriot in another tyrannosaur species. And of course, being primal, things can never have a happy ending, though. Yeah,
No, unfortunately, a lot of people and a lot of blood ends up getting spilled inadvertently because the other dinosaur doesn't understand that they like there's a bit of civilization that's
yeah,
occurred with Fang that hasn't occurred with his new friend or her
yeah,
new friend. And yeah, a lot of blood ends up getting spilled and it sort of drives them both out because they have to choose each other ultimately over these options. And unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, Fang has to kill his new friend, her new friend.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, but I mean, these are much more intricate episodes than you got in the first season. Where basically, I mean, the first maybe two, maybe three episodes are just about them establishing their own relationship and boundaries. Like in the first season, the second episode is just about them sort of realizing that they can't steal food from each other.
yeah. Like this was a partnership that didn't start overnight, so it's essentially like you can see. I think you're shocked because you see the other pterosaur, the other theropod that Fan is with, and it's got a personality and it's got kind of this kind of cute little kind of eccentricities, and you're like, oh, it's like Fan. But then when it starts killing the villagers, you're like, yeah, I'm a fucking idiot. I assumed because I'm so used to seeing Fan being all fucking besties with this character. Um, it knocks you for a loop. It does. It knocks
Yeah,
you for a loop.
Fang's got to do Fang shit, and dinosaurs have to do dinosaur shit, and you get the general idea that these aren't cultures that are supposed. I mean, I guess if you could consider Fang, and his friend, a culture of two, these aren't people that are supposed to mesh.
Yeah.
Uh, Hold on a second. We got a comment here. Are you trying to say Spear and Fang came from Caprona, Martin? So, I mean, is that an area close to you?
I don't know. Possibly, fucking could be from fucking Millwall, Mike. For all we know. Um,
We get to the third episode, and here's where it starts to fucking really heat up. Where they run into the slave society, these Vikings, I would assume, these big hulking motherfuckers in armor, riding these enormous grizzly bears. I mean, it's completely gratuitous, and every fucking second of it is fantastic. Um, and I mean, they're just going at it the entire fucking time.
yeah,
Um,
it's an
it's
epic
just
fucking
total war,
episode.
man.
Yeah, it's epic. It's a great episode.
Because here's what's happening. I mean, we're seeing that these societies are enslaving. They're just going by ship and grabbing other people, which is kind of what Vikings did. They raided, they plundered, they took slaves, and, that's kind of how they prospered, this loot, burn, pillage kind of lifestyle. And, you could see in more modern, television shows like Vikings or The Last Kingdom or things like that, they're sort of normalized in that the Vikings become the protagonists and almost kind of the good guys. But when you think about it, it's pretty fucking awful.
Oh yeah,
The things that they fucking did to people. And here, the line between good and evil is very clearly drawn.
yeah. It's drawn, but Tartakovsky messes with it again. Like I was saying with Spear and Fan, and that episode where they have to kind of end up taking out the kind of Norse women and children as well. There is an episode where the chieftain and his son come back and
Yeah.
they see the destruction and they have a flashback. It could have been the following episode of like life with his wife and like the little brother picking on the big brother, and just it shows them that these aren't just two-dimensional villains. It would be so easy to be like, oh, these are just bad Viking guys, but no. Tartakovsky is like, look, these are our antagonists, but these are people as well at the end of the day. So I think Tartakovsky as well with this season likes to push our buttons. is like, you know, there is, as you said, there is a defining thing that these guys are bad guys, but he does like to kind of maybe try and pull the carpet out from the audience a couple of times with Spear and Fan and with these characters by showing the kind of backstory.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not completely black and white. Yeah, you're right about that. And so you give pause when you start to see, you know, when the raid eventually comes on the village from Spear and Fang. You know, also the frustration that they experience, and that the slaves won't stand up.
Yeah.
You know, that they've just kind of been broken by the experience. They're afraid. The only person who's willing to stand up is Mira. And it's a big fucking mess throughout the whole thing. You know, and you are seeing that, you know, they're forced to kill women, which, you know, Spear doesn't want to do. You know, and they are forced to kill children and just like wipe out the whole fucking village. But yeah, through these flashbacks, you're seeing that, you know, this is just maybe, I mean, I'm just making a guess, but this is just the life that they know.
Yeah, it's their society. Like, what's the old adage? Everyone is the hero in their own story. So
Yeah.
these guys don't see what they're doing is wrong. It's just part of their culture. So it's kind of that double-edged sword, you know.
Yeah. Now from here, we get to what is probably my favorite episode in the entire. Well, I don't know. I'm talking about the Red Mist. I loved the fucking Red Mist because it's just total fucking war. Where these guys are hacking and slashing, and the arrows, you know, everybody's just getting chewed to fucking pieces. What did you think about that? I mean, you know, it's largely a revenge. No, because this is the one where they go through the village, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it's again. I think it's Tartakovsky trying to show that, look, Tartakovsky's trying to show that, like, you know, in this time, in this period, these characters have to do some audacious, absolutely vicious and savage shit to survive. And it's like, you could do it by half measure. You could go, oh, this was you know, Spear and Fan accidentally killed these characters trying to flee, but no, they were attacked, so they're totally justified. And, like, you know, it's Tartakovsky saying maybe violence begets violence, and, you know, it's just it's there's no easy answers, and at the end of the day, there can be, in a situation like this, there can't be really good or bad guys. It's just about survival.
Yeah, it's pure fucking Darwinism.
Yeah.
And you know, with that leads us to the next episode, the Charles Darwin episode. And do you want to? I mean, you seem to have an affinity for that one because it really is fucking good, and it might actually be better than.
I actually have a question for you because, as I said, I theorized
the primal theory.
Yeah, I theorized that this was basically Tartakovsky kind of covering all these bases because he didn't want the audience to be totally kind of disgusted with Spear and Fan. Do you think this episode was done to justify Spear and Fan's actions in the prior episode?
Maybe that seems like it would fit. I mean, certainly in the sequence of events, you know, coming off of that and coming off of what's coming after this.
Yeah.
Because the kid gets splattered in the Red Mist. The Viking chief, the entire village just gets wiped out. The other guy just gets splattered on a fucking rock. You know, we've got flying pterodactyls and everything. But this is just a great throughout the entirety of the series, or at least this season. This is just a fantastic episode of exposition.
It's a
without involving any of the character, involving any of the main characters at all. Anything we've seen for 14 episodes up until now, they're just laying out, you know, basically what's going on, you know, here.
Yeah, it's playing out in a smaller scope. I will admit it took me out of left field, but then when I took into consideration a prior episode and I took into consideration the entire theme of this episode. Again, you have all these fucking high society snobs going, oh, we're better than that. We're better than animals.
Yeah.
And then this fucking escaped lunatic is just going around the mansion making shit of them. And by the end of it, the Lord of the Manor has had to absolutely destroy this dude to kill him. And Charles Darwin's there. And that's what I mean. I love that episode. That was brilliant. That was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it starts out where, Charles Darwin is trying to explain the theory, the origin of the species, this sort of thing, that we descend from the primal man, and these are just these stiff asshole English gentlemen, that are just making fun of him and, so on and so forth, and making jokes. And then they get this warning from a police constable that, an escaped lunatic has, might be roaming in their area. And then they find out that the fucking guy is right there in their house. And he looks like the mutant chief from The Dark Knight Returns. That's what I was thinking of. With the teeth and everything like that. And he just starts fucking mowing through these British gentlemen. And, many of them are just running for their fucking lives because they're completely useless. You get a couple of them, by necessity that are actually trying to make a stand, so on and so forth, but they're just getting mowed down because this guy is not a human being in the strictest sense of, in many ways. He is, it'd be like having Spear in your living room, get out of here, stupid cat. It'd be like having Spear in your living room, and so one of the men who turns out to be like a college boxing champion. I like that, that he just sort of makes the turn, just out of necessity to survive. Like he's not going to get another breath unless they do things about, and they pull out the guns and the weapons and they're going hand to hand, and it's like, 2 or 3 on 1, and then they finally manage to fucking kill this guy. And this guy who starts out in a tuxedo, with his nose up in the air, becomes
he's at
Craven the Hunter.
Yeah, he's had to revert to his most savage instincts. And again, I love the fact that Darwin, through this entire heroin experience, is like, see, there's my point. Point proved. It's like,
and that's just how the whole fucking episode goes. Yeah. But it's just a great piece of exposition.
It's fantastic.
You could pull this out, and again, like I said, there are a couple of episodes I thought maybe in the first season, the very first episode, that would work as a short film. This is another one that would just work as a fucking short film. You could just drop this anywhere and it would be a fantastic, if you, like in my days as a teacher, if I knew that something like this existed, I probably would show it for 20 minutes and said, that's what Darwin was talking about. At least in the loosest sense, because, it extended to other things. But yeah, that would keep people's fucking attentions.
I meant to say to you as well, do you remember last week we were saying that this it's a shame this show never got any awards? Tartakovsky cobbled 4 episodes from the first season together, and made it a movie called Primal, A Tale of Savagery, and submitted it to the Academy. But it didn't make the short list, unfortunately. But it sucks that it didn't. But it's like that's again, that's Hollywood down to the fucking ground.
Yeah. Again, and this is something that we also talked about. Maybe it's better that these things remain small. It doesn't get gobbled up by the big companies who then want to, fucking control the creative. This sort of thing. It stays small. Adult Swim, Cartoon Network, small little, Blu-ray releases, these sorts of things. And then he can retain control of, what he does.
The creativity.
Leave me alone.
Aspect.
Yeah, let the creative create.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the story, and I think we talked about it last week, of production hell in Guillermo del Toro's Mimic, where he said the Weinsteins made his life a living hell. trying to control that. And he said he almost wanted to quit making movies because, he's a creative. He's not a tough guy or anything like that, And after that, he went over to Spain to make my favorite Del Toro film, The Devil's Backbone, which is probably the greatest. Movie. Yeah, it's one of the best ghost movies of all time. But he said that it was like a miracle because they were just like, look, we trust you. Here's money. You're the creative. Go create. We're going to leave you alone. Obviously, we want to be kept in the loop on things. Give us steady progress reports, these sorts of things. But we're not here to try to micromanage for you. And he said that kind of restored his. But these smaller productions allow for more creativity,
Going on a bit of side tangent, I don't know if you know this. His father was kidnapped by the cartel. Del Toro's father. Yeah, basically what happened was they got the impression that he was like a big Hollywood hotshot, and he was like, "What the fuck do I do?" So Jim Cameron, who was a big fan of his work, wrote a check to the cartel to get Del Toro's father back. And all Del Toro had to do was give him his journal for Pan's Labyrinth. Just a little fun little side story, but he got his dad back anyway. But it's only because of Jim Cameron.
It's as an American, it's very bad down to the border, man.
Yeah.
That these fucking cartels have taken over with the trafficking. And it's funny because we're coming up on Saturday. I'm looking forward to that, talking about predators. And there's that one line where Danny Trejo is like a cartel enforcer. And he's like, yeah, we kidnap you. You don't pay the ransom. We just light you on fire. We stick you in an oil drum and light you on fire. Yeah. And Topher Grace is looking at him like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, ML says that he needs to submit it to the Harryhausen Awards.
He should. There's like
I had something that talked about some oh wait, no. Go ahead.
No. Mike actually studied under Harryhausen for a while, and there was an organization called the Ray Harryhausen Awards, and Mike, it wouldn't have to be stop motion to submit it; it could just be regular animation. So yeah, he should.
Well, I'm looking at this one, and it says that it did win an Emmy.
Oh, okay.
Emmy Award, hold on a second, from Entertainment Weekly. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can connect that up. Where it says blah, 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 blah. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And it says exclusive Emmy Award winning Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. So, and that's just, look at that fucking cover art.
That's awesome.
And that's not just like one 30-second scene. That's like 2 or 3 episodes. 2 or 3 episodes in the entire fucking season. It's just fucking great shit. That brings us to, the Slaver episodes. And those are rough because we have Vidar. Where the one Viking king sort of submits himself to, I guess, what you would call their devil. It looks like he's going to heaven, and those, beautiful fucking redheads. There's like 3 beautiful redheads or blondes or something, and they're coming to get him, and the demons come. They're like, no, not this fucking guy. No, not him. He belongs to us. And I guess he ends up like trading his salvation or, whatever they had in mind for him down there just to get revenge.
Yeah, he's turned into this kind of Satan's deity's kind of berserker, this unstoppable kind of monster that's just made out of fire.
Yeah, and, he definitely comes back to bite them in the fucking end. And I guess we'll get into that. But before we do, what did you think of those episodes pertaining to the slaver? When we finally get into what you say is the Egyptian.
Those episodes were great. I don't know if he had a name, but the lead giant was fucking brilliant. I was like, okay, this thing was able to just clock fucking Fang on the jaw and knock the wind out of her. And like it was so funny. Again, this season does stuff where you're like, oh, this guy's a bastard. And then later on it shows his entire village being captured. But not only that, there's a bit where like his little daughter, his cute little baby daughter is like afraid of a
Yeah.
spider. And he's like, don't kill it,
Yeah.
don't kill it. He
Yeah,
gets the bowl and puts it out. And it's like, wait, hold on. This is I feel bad now for not liking this guy. And that episode, you're even showing where like he goes ashore. These people are harmless. Like they fought Babylonian kingdoms and they fought other fucking advanced fucking civilization, but these are just a primitive kind of very Eden-esque
innocent,
kind of people.
very innocent. Yeah.
Yeah, they come to the shore. They have fruits, they have vegetables, they've probably given everything, and that's probably an entire year's worth of a harvest. And he like picks it up and he's like pleading, "Come on, take it. This is all they have."
No.
And that bitch of a queen is like, "Nah,
Yeah.
you got to make an example."
Yeah. It's called the Colosseus.
Yeah.
The Colosseus, and so they have these entire. They have all the men from like these giant. African, it's like an entire like race of just gigantic African men, and they've been enslaved by this one woman who is like this just evil fucking warrior queen, who's just a fucking murderer. And what she ends up doing is, amongst her strongest warriors, she finds ways to leverage them. Like she leverages Fang. By smashing one of her fucking eggs. We forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Holding the two other eggs hostage with the giant man that we just showed in the previous scene. She's got his little daughter that she's threatening to murder. And this storyline goes on for 3 episodes. And basically they're conscripted to fight. For her, as she just wants to murder and pillage and conquer. It's fucking rough, man. I mean, here, unlike even with the Vidar and the Viking tribes, there's no humanity here.
Yeah, she just wants to conquer and consume, and like again. It's funny when Spear and Fang, like they're confronted by the first ship, this big long galleon, and they get on it, and it's like, oh, like yeah, we might be able to survive this, and then that big fucking frigate, which is essentially a floating fucking city, just comes into view. You're like, oh, they're fucked. It's like
yeah, just very fucking bad. Eventually they're able to turn the tide on these fucking people, which I was glad, because I would like the end of the second episode, it ends in a revolt, but at the end of the second episode they're ultimately subdued.
Yeah.
And it isn't until this Colossus guy ends up turning on them and releasing all the galley slaves, which is like his entire civilization of giant men, that this thing kind of resolves itself. And initially I thought that they were going to
team up.
Yeah, I thought that was the next thing that was coming, and you were going to see Spear and Fang go off with them.
I think like I was a bit worried because at the same time you've Vidar, you've the berserker, the now fucking demonic berserker walking across the ocean. Like this poor Viking guy has been as you can see, he's walking there in the background. I was like, no, don't fucking kill the poor dudes who just got free. No, they don't. I'm glad about that, because this dude is just this dude is now the Norse Terminator. He's
like a demon. He's a demon. He's basically a demon who has come back up from hell at the bequest of the devil, I guess, for revenge. And I guess the revenge, greatly, appeals to evil. So he sends him back up. But at the same time, you're seeing, these people fight for their freedom and ultimately, have it restored to them.
Yeah.
And it's just a great fucking episode. And I don't think I was ever so happy to see someone's body get fucking broken as I was when he just picks her up because she can fight. That's the other thing about the Egyptian queen. Like she ends up beating like spear in hand to hand. She's like slashing him across the fingers, with the spear he's holding. She's too fast. But when that fucking guy just comes up behind her and throws her off the fucking floor and just, all the way, I guess she hits the roof of that fucking boat that they're in, and she's just fucking broken. And I'm like, thank you.
I like that moment as well because it's like it's as you can see that poor woman she's a bitch. That bitch's body is broken. But
Yeah.
Spear and Mira look up and the giant's there with his little daughter and they're all smiling.
Yeah. I think he waves. He just waves briefly.
But yeah, you're dead right. She was an absolute tyrant of a bitch, so she deserved that ending.
Yeah. Just an evil, murdering fucking bitch. So we're glad she's dead. And, that brings us to the end of the season, the final episode, Echoes of Eternity, where we find basically that, they return Mira to her homeland, where she's reunited with her people and achieves some measure of peace. And I was wondering if throughout this entire thing, they were going to have some kind of hookup, and how that was going to work exactly. Go ahead.
No, it's just it's going to be difficult to explain the situation with that because takes to kind of give a kind of explanation for that. You kind of have to spoil it, and I don't know, should we spoil it? Or, what do you think? It's your party, dude.
Yeah, I think we just fucking go into it. I mean, I'll put because we've been doing that. I mean, for the entire thing, we've been talking about it for the entire thing. So spoilers are up now. If you're watching this and you don't want to know how the season ends, even though we've been going through spoilers for the entirety of the fucking episode for the stream. But if you don't want to have that, now's the time to check out. We're going to go at it in 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. So, I mean, they returned Mira to her home, which was what the whole second season was about, the quest for Mira. And they've got a peaceful, civilized society. They have fighters, they have warriors, and, they've made room for Spear and Fang, who now has two baby Fangs, that just kind of run around the place. And you can see that he is trying to, I mean, he's not learning any language or anything, but he's trying to adapt. And I'm wondering, is this guy going to become part of this society? And, it looks hopeful and optimistic until you realize that this fucking demon is just following them all the way, all the way there. There's not really going to be any particular, there's not going to be any peace or anything like that. And unfortunately, what ends up happening, it turns into a final battle where basically, I mean, they can't do anything. This thing can like project fire. And it turns into a final battle between Spear and this deity. And he ends up getting extremely badly burned, which is something I didn't see coming.
No, I was like, oh no, because I knew, like, fucking, like, Spear has been through so much, but at the end of the day, like, the episode still state that this is a human being. This isn't fucking Kal-El from Krypton. This is a man. This is a mortal man, with the fortitude to fight monsters and demons, but still, at the end of the day, a mortal man.
And we go into that. Where there's a bit of a flashback from his dream of his father, whose village was attacked by a group of saber-toothed tigers, and his father ends up giving his life to save the village, which he's partially able to do ultimately with the aid of his young son, young Spear. So, maybe they're setting you up to let you know that, Spear is going to give his life here, which ultimately he ends up doing. He's extremely badly burned, and he is dying. And I think almost out of I don't know what. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, fucking Mira just mounts him while he's dying.
I don't think it was out of nowhere because, like, you are right. He has integrated into the village, but there is a scene where Mira goes into the kind of they've given him a kind of clay hut, and she sees that he has
picture drawings.
Yeah, drawings of not only the prior life before this, but the entire 2 seasons, and then it just stops, and it's just him alone. And
yeah, I saw. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, Mira realizes that he has no legacy. He has nothing. He's like Fan has.
He doesn't feel a part of it. Yeah, I got that. He doesn't feel a part of it.
No, he doesn't. Fan has her chicks. Mira has her tribe, and he's just alone. He has he has no legacy. Hence the title, Echoes of Eternity. There's nothing. Like once Spear is gone, he's gone. His entire existence will have no fucking kind of impact left.
He'll be forgotten. Yeah, he'll be forgotten.
And I think that's why she does what she does.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think she's also proud. I mean, as men go, that was probably as good a man as you could ever hope, because he is a good man.
Yeah.
It sounds strange to say that about a caveman, but I mean, she's there because he came all the way across the sea for her. And he's had so many things taken away from him, and he suffered so much pain over the course of 2 seasons. Same with Fang, that, maybe even ultimately without this happening, they would have, been together.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's anybody else that would have understood either of them. Clearly, no one would have understood Spear, but I don't think anybody else would have understood Mira after everything that she had been through. And then you don't actually see him die. And I thought that was interesting. It transitions from an implied sort of sex scene, because, it doesn't get into it, because he's dying. And, then the next thing you see, he seems that a child, there's a child. I can't tell if it's I'm assuming it's a girl. I thought it was a girl when I first saw, and, Fang's 2 children have grown now, and they've sort of become like a surrogate family to each other.
Yeah, like that. They've obviously kind of maybe they're the protectors of this village. Maybe the next Viking raiding party that comes along is going to be very sorry. And again, I admit I was very I had heard what was going to happen, so I put off watching the episode. But I did watch it, and I was sad. And then it's a bittersweet ending because yes, Spear is gone, but he has that legacy left, and it's Fan has her chicks, and Spear has a daughter. I'll say daughter, with Mira. So there is a legacy left. There is something out of all the horror and savagery and all the stuff that everyone went through. There was a silver lining,
Yeah, in no way, shape, or form did I watch this season end and say, fuck this thing, man. I mean, I was just like, okay, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That works out okay. He's, now left his legacy with people who have spoken language, so his story will continue to be told. We've got Fang, who's got 2 out of 3 of her children with her now, living well. And I thought it was a satisfactory ending. It was a surprise ending, but it was a satisfactory ending. I suppose the only thing that could have, been a little more satisfying if somehow he had done it without getting hurt and they just lived happily ever after. Like, I would have been okay with that. But then, go
I
ahead.
would have as well, but I think it would have been disingenuous to the series.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you look at the ending of the first Conan.
Yeah.
You know, and if you watch the more modern Blu-rays, you know, these adapted versions, you know, in the original, he's just sitting there after all these years. He finally gets his revenge and he doesn't know what to do with himself. You know, like he's been wanting to kill Thulsa Doom his whole life. He finally fucking kills him after all this suffering. He's been crucified. Valeria's killed. You know, all these things. And he's just sitting there. He's like, now what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then he burns the temple.
Yeah.
But in the more modern versions, if you've seen it, the princess is there. And he just kind of grabs the princess up and just kind of goes off with her. It's kind of a more satisfactory ending. Like she comes. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that one.
Really?
I did. So it's an extended thing because I always remember it's like the book ending of him burning the temple there, and it just cuts back to him on the throne, kind of fucking wandering stuff.
There's another version out there where she comes down the stairs and she starts to worship him. Because, you know, she just transitions from one extreme to the other, and he just picks her up and he's like, no, like not that. We're not doing that. And she's like, you know, it's this complete nonverbal scene. You probably pick it up on YouTube. He's like, well, you know, she's like, well, what are we supposed to do now? And you can tell it's Arnold, you know, back in the stud days. I'll figure it out. And I can't remember if he just picks her up and carries her off or, you know, they walk off together. You know, and then, you know, the scene comes up where he says, you know, he returns the wayward daughter to her father, you know, and then, you know, he has the rest of his adventures. But, you know, this sort of, you know, works like that, you know. Yeah, it's okay.
I think that's more in line with the like the essentially where we get the modern obviously Schwarzenegger is a big part of that, but the influence on Schwarzenegger and a lot of the Conan media is I know, Mike, you're into Conan, but Robert E. Howard's Conan was very different looking. He was a lot more brawny, shorter, kind of more Islamic kind of look. It wasn't until the 70s Marvel comics that we got the big kind of Herculean black mane kind of Conan, and that's definitely kind of been the springboard for everything we've got, and that's definitely more in line with that Conan, the 70s comic book Conan, where he's like picking up women at bars, calling them wenches, and like when they pass out, he's like, fucking women. It's like
I gotta get back into my Conan. Hold on a second. I gotta get back into this. A while ago, I picked this up and never bothered to read it. You know, the old complete fucking chronicles, and this is. I mean, I've gotten through a couple of them, and they're just fucking magic, man. They're just brilliant. Fucking magic.
It's brilliant, and it's astounding that a dude from fucking Texas wrote one of the best fucking kind of medieval fantasy kind of fucking tales there is. It's just.
I think he gets overshadowed by a bunch of snobby fucking Tolkien and C.S. Lewis fans. But you know something? I mean, I'll be honest with you. You know, skull smashing is kind of an American thing. I mean, it was a British thing for a long time too. But you know, by the time you start to move into the era of Tolkien, you know, that kind of way has kind of moved on. You know, in parts of Europe, but. I mean, yeah, this guy deserves equal footing in sci-fi and fantasy writing with Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, and that's my particular hill. But yeah, I'm staying on it.
You're dead right. Like fucking to this day, there is still a kind of nose turned up of pulp writers. But even the fantastic again, Robert E. Howard, H.P. Lovecraft, although. That dude's problematic. That's a whole other fucking discussion. And then you have Robert fucking Bloch, the man who created Psycho. He was a pulp writer, and people are like, oh, pulp novels, they're just trash. No, they're not. They're
No,
fucking the foundation stones of some of the greatest stories and aspects of cinema we have today.
I'll be honest. Indiana Jones is pulp.
Oh, absolutely.
Indiana Jones is
serials.
absolute fucking pulp. It's
Yeah.
It's stereotypical fucking pulp, but I mean, it's just fucking. It's great shit, man. It's great shit. I mean, I wouldn't mind a resurgence of that kind of media again, in the literary form, in the visual form. You bring back these kinds of things, sign me up, man. Take my money. They don't cost $300 million to make. That's for fucking sure.
Robert.
Have you seen? Hold on, just one other thing. Have you seen that movie Sisu?
Yes, I done a review on it. That is amazing. That is
it pulp?
essentially.
Is it
Yes,
pulp?
it is. It's
Yeah.
pure. It's pure escapist fantasy set in World War II. It's essentially, it's like a character from a Sergio Leone Western blundered into a Sam Fuller war movie. You're like, what the fuck? But it works. It just works. It's fantastic.
They didn't drop it here. I can't get it in my multiplex, and it's gone now. I mean, it's already on video on demand. I'm waiting for the Blu-ray, but that cost $6 million to make. 6 million euros. So that's $6.5 million bucks.
Yeah,
$6 million. Bring back that shit.
I think slowly but surely it's coming back.
Yeah. You see it in John Wick. You're seeing these Chris Hemsworth extraction films. The return of pulp. That's what we need. We need just old fashioned, fucking blood and guts, fucking going at it, man.
And nothing needs to be not everything needs to be a fucking Marvel movie or Marvel universe or DC universe.
No. Good. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, they had their run. It was nice. But I mean, you look at the first fucking Marvel movie, it was Blade.
Yeah.
That's some serious fucking pulp.
Yeah.
That's just great shit. And but it morphed into this other fucking thing. And if it goes off a cliff and takes all the fucking fans with it, I'll be happy. It was good while it lasted. But yeah, it's time to fucking move on. It's time to move on and get back to making some fucking movies again. I would love to see one of these. Just one fucking if you made one of these into a fucking movie, one episode, not a whole season, because you'd be here for fucking ever. But just like the Red Mist, or the first episode, or something like that, or I mean, but
my guess with that, my theory with this kind of thing is, doing dinosaur media, you're not going to be able to do graphic violence. I would love to see a more kind of closer adaptation of Jurassic Park, but you couldn't, because that is gratuitous as fuck.
Remember how controversial? You remember how controversial that was when that T-Rex went after those kids in the truck?
Yeah.
Said that was too fucking extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that got heavily criticized. I don't know if people, youngins don't remember that shit, but back in the day, they were like, why the fuck did he? And that was a Spielberg movie. I'm like, this is the guy who created Jaws. Remember?
The thing is as well, if people were freaking out about that, if they'd done an actual adaptation of Crichton's Jurassic Park, they wouldn't be able to, because there would have to be a certain, with this, if you done an adaptation of this, there'd have to be a level of gore. There would have to be a level of violence, obviously.
Graphic violence.
Gratuitous nudity. Some of the scenes might require that. Yeah. You and no studio is going to be like, we're not going to be making an X-rated or R-rated dinosaur flick, because dinosaurs are for kids. That's
in the first episode. In the first episode, we see two fucking kids and a woman get eaten.
Yeah.
Within the first 5 minutes of that first episode, his whole family just gets fucking wiped out by a T-Rex thing. And you're just like, this is fucking great. This is just fucking greatness. I was getting ready last night. Now, maybe I'll do it later on this week. I was going to get back into some more of him and rewatch those Clone Wars. That fucking 2D animation. Or I could get into Samurai Jack.
Stuff is great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just fucking great 2D animation.
I think the best season of Jack was the last one, because he kind of really said, look, do you know what, at this time, the people who watched Jack when they're kids are now in their 20s. They're that bit older, so I can push the boundaries with that, and yeah, if it's self-contained enough that you can watch the last season on its own merit.
Yeah, really good fucking shit. All right, is there anything that you think we should address that we did not get to?
No, I think we covered all the angles.
I think so too.
All I have to say is, if you haven't seen this show, as Mike said, check it out on HBO Max, dude. Right?
It's called Max now over here. For some reason, they've gotten rid of the HBO out of HBO, and now it's just called Max. But yeah, it's on Max. You can stream them as you see fit here in the U.S. Of course, my preference always physical media. So these digital libraries are too fucking fickle for me. That's here one day and gone the next. So this way, as long as I have electricity, I can watch my own shit. And you said, where can you get it?
More for the app, the Channel 4 app. For you can get it on your Xbox, you can get it on your PS5, any kind of device, you can download the More 4 app here in Europe.
Okay. All right. Well, Saturday, we are back, and I'm going to be on your channel. I'm looking forward to this a great deal. Talking. Go ahead.
2010's Predators, a fantastic movie. I don't care what anyone says. People give this movie shit. I don't understand why. It's a cool movie. It's a throwback. Yeah. It does something new. It expands the lore. It expands the kind of universe. There is a few niggles I have with it, but it's not. All 4 in the UK. Yeah, thanks,
all
Mike.
4 in the UK. That's where you can find it.
Yeah. So, essentially, we're going to be discussing a very underrated Predator movie, I think.
Yeah, it's got a fantastic cast. I think that's the best cast short of the first film. It's definitely a love letter to the first film. I mean, it's almost like sequentially, it's almost the same film, and yet it's fucking different.
Yeah.
And unlike any of the other films that use the name Predator, it has Walton Goggins. So Walton Goggins, who is just a revelation fucking everywhere that he goes, and just steals every scene and everything that he's in, is a part of this, along with a lot of other cool people. So we'll get into that. Tonight on my backup channel, American Werewolf EU, I will be there discussing with the panel, I think 2009's Beowulf, with Brendan Gleeson, Angelina Jolie, Anthony Hopkins, a lot of good fucking people in that. Can't wait to get into it. Predators is an awesome movie. My thanks to ML for stopping into the
thanks, Mike.
Into the stream, man. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. And my thanks to Marty from the Trash Picture Show for giving me an opportunity to talk some Primal. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so I'm glad we finally got into it. And we will see you in the next video. So thanks, everybody, and have a good day. Peace.
Slán